Hello everyone, my name is Meghan LeVota and I'm an ENFJ. And today I'm going to be talking about what it is like to date the INFJ personality type. So if you didn't know, I am dating an INFJ. I have that video that I did with her that I will link somewhere below and probably up here on the screen. But this video is going to be a kind of general video to give you some overviews of what it's like to date an INFJ. I'm going to be sharing my perspective, but I'm also not going to get extremely personal, and I'm also going to try and see if I can convey my personal experience in a way that will be actually useful to other people. So, personally for me as an ENFJ, I am quite similar to the INFJ personality type because we use the same cognitive functions. The main thing that is our difference is that I use extroverted feeling first and INFJs use introverted intuition first. A lot of people might think, if you're only looking at the letters, that the main difference between us is that I am more socially extroverted or outgoing, and that's not true. But to me, the differences that I see the most are just the fact that I'm a little bit more forthright and a little bit more needing to solve problems right now, a little bit more impatient. And that's because with extroverted feeling first, I can't really tune out other people very well. And so a lot of INFJs, although you understand and you empathize with what I'm going through, a lot of the time, you don't know what it's like to not be able to turn off your connection to the extroverted feeling world. You also don't know what it's like to feel your NI sort of go in and out in moments of stress. I mean, I've noticed with INFJs, your FE will kind of turn off in moments of stress, or at least that's possible. It's not possible for my FE to turn off. And so what can happen with me is that I am stressing about something that somebody said or a situation that I cannot control because, I think about other people all day long. And INFJs are like, you can't control that. Why are you thinking about that? Or you've missed the bigger picture here. Like, here's the bigger picture. I can sometimes miss the bigger picture. Even though if you see from my videos, my NI is really strong. I turn it on for the videos, and I prefer to have it turned on most of the time. But there are times when my NI turns off, and that is just not true for INFJs. But I would say with the INFJ that I'm dating, we have very similar energy levels when it comes to social life. And also, we are overwhelmed by similar things because we both are overwhelmed by the sensory world, and we are less overwhelmed by having deep, intimate conversations. So if you are dating an INFJ, something to expect is that you might see them as very introverted and sort of doing their own thing and independent and all that. You might, at first, when you're kind of crushing on them or kind of unsure about them or like trying to date them, you might see like, wow, they are independent. They don't need me. They are doing great. I hope that they like me. Like, it's sort of like, whoa, I hope that I'm cool enough for them, because they clearly are picky about who they hang out with. They clearly don't feel the need to talk to me. But if you are dating an INFJ, you will find that they act completely different in relationships than they do in your day-to-day life. If you have not dated an INFJ, you probably have no idea what an INFJ is actually like, because INFJs, they do not show their full self really to their friends or to the world nearly as much, or at least not as much as me. No INFJ I've ever known, because they are afraid of being vulnerable. They can be vulnerable and they're very open and they're probably more vulnerable than you are in a lot of other ways. And I say you, I don't know what your personality type is, but INFJs can be very vulnerable. You probably see a lot of them like Frank James or like Pukoki or like other INFJs on YouTube. You probably see them and you're like, man, they're really just sharing their soul with me. Oh my goodness. And they are vulnerable. But INFJs are showing you exactly what they want to show you. If you aren't seeing something of them, that is intentional. And if they are showing you something of them, that is intentional. And they just don't think that you know them unless you really know them. Because they can fool you. They really can. You might think that you know all there is about them. A lot of them really do hide their social anxiety or their feelings of insecurity or their clinginess until you're in a committed relationship. And if you are dating an INFJ, you gotta let them know that that is okay. And you can share that. Like you let them know you can be that with me. I'm not gonna judge you. You have to intentionally hold that space for them, because they live most of their life realizing that they think a little bit differently than most people, and they have FE, and so they use it as a tool to blend in, not because they want to blend in, but because they don't want to deal with your bullshit. So it's not because they want to blend in, it's not because they want to be liked necessarily, it's because they want to go to work, do their job, go home. They want to have fun. They want to do their things without people getting on their last nerve. And people get on their nerves. They really do. Because people who lack the NI insight or understanding. This is why INFJs can seem kind of pretentious and kind of douchey. That's because if you are an INFJ that has no idea that you're an INFJ, or you don't really know, like if you aren't as aware of different functions, or there are other tools that you could use to be aware. Like, I'm not trying to say like everyone has to learn Myers-Briggs or whatever, but a lot of them don't know that other people don't think like you. In my opinion, INFJs could be the biggest dicks if they do not realize that their insight is not something that everyone knows. Because a lot of them, it's like they're so smart and insightful, but then socially they feel like a misfit, and so they can talk really down on themselves. And so if they have a ginormous like insight or whatever, or something that would be mind-blowing to the general population, they don't see it that way. They really don't, because they likely have some sort of social anxiety, or a lot of them really do beat themselves up internally, a lot more than you probably see. And you probably won't see that unless they open up to you, because they don't really want you to know that. I know this seems like a ginormous generalization, but that, this is not true for all INFJs, but I would say it's true enough for me to say it in the video, in the fact that some of you guys might find it useful to at least not judge a book by its cover so much when viewing the INFJ, because the thing that you might think is that they're fine and that they have their whole life put together. I know an INFJ who has the most perfect Instagram feed, where it's the most aesthetic thing possible, and it's like a lot of INFJs, it can be like handcrafted vulnerability, or what's the word? It's very cultured. Their image can be very cultured. And so don't idealize them. Don't see them as your manic pixie dream girl or guy. You don't know them. They haven't, unless they've opened up to you. Like, don't think you know them because of their image, because there's nothing that can really piss off an INFJ and also just make the relationship not work if you are viewing them on a pedestal because you like the image that they created and you like the mystery of it all. INFJs don't want to be anyone's mystery. They want to be understood. Contrary to NFPs, who I think secretly want to be a mystery. Comment below, let me know if that resonates with you. Again, you know, when I'm talking about type, these things are not black and white. I am sharing observations that tend to be true. Not everyone is going to relate to everything. If they did, then I don't really see the point of type, honestly. The only way to really truly describe a person is to describe them as an individual. If you're going to describe them as a type, clearly it's not going to be one size fits all. So take what resonates with you. But yeah, man, INFJs don't want to be idealized. And so if you're dating one, don't be like, oh yeah, I know, or like, oh, I bet you are blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can, but like, really just wait for them to reveal themselves to you, because that's beautiful. If you have an INFJ that's comfortable enough with you to really reveal their darkness or their insecurities with you, that is beautiful. So what's it really like to date an INFJ? Well, they get a lot clingier later on in the relationship. They get a lot clingier. And I thought I was clingy as an ENFJ, but at least I'm very obviously clingy at the beginning. Maybe it just takes longer for INFJs to get that. And, you know, I'm not bashing it, because I love the attention and I love INFJs being clingy. Well, I love my girlfriend being clingy to me. It's amazing. I love when INFJs are clingy. But it doesn't feel, at least to me, it doesn't feel like the bad kind of clingy, because they aren't turning into you. They aren't attached to you. They're just openly sharing. At least that's how it feels to me. It's not like, it never feels like they're hanging on to you as like a baby blanket. It seems like they just want to be around you all of the time. I think dating an INFJ, they want to merge with you 100%. And the most introverted person in the world will suddenly have no boundaries and just want to become one with you. And so you got to be careful with that. You got to make sure that you're appreciating them. And at least for me, since I'm dating an INFJ, I sort of knew from the beginning, I was like, well, shit, one of us has to be the rational one here, because I don't want either of us to get hurt. And that's sort of my higher up FE will sort of take on different roles whenever I see them as needed. I can be kind of a chameleon in that way. I was just, because INFJs, they fall fat. They either know that you are the right person pretty much instantly, or they have tricked themselves. Like, I guess I'm here to say that if you're an INFJ watching this and you're dating someone and you don't have that sort of NI sense of knowing that this is the one, chances are you might be sort of wanting approval, or you know that it's not going to last forever and you're just having a good time. INFJs tend to know, like, if they're dating someone that's not going to last forever. And they might not tell you, but INFJs will tell you quickly if they think that you're the one that's going to last forever. Because they know. And I'm not trying to make them sound like super psychic and weird, but they are kind of psychic and weird in that way. They don't want to waste their time. They don't want to waste your time. They can seem, on the one hand, the clingiest, most loving, emotional person, but at the same time, if it's not working, they're going to get out of that relationship. And they're going to want you to get on with your life. A lot of these things that seem obvious from the ENFJ perspective might not seem obvious to you. And INFJs will behave in the relationship based on their own sense of emotional common sense. Another thing to know when dating them, they won't feel as much need for like alone time as perhaps an INFP or an INTP, because INFJs seek someone that they feel like they can be alone with, that they can take off the mask. Because INFJs love people a lot. That's why I said that you might not really know the real them if you're just talking to them, because they have this sort of mask, this sort of FE mask that they use as a tool. And I'm not saying that that's like fake or manipulative. I'm just saying it's a little bit different, because for me, my FE is just who I am. But INFJs, it's more like I'm putting on this face to get to know you. But really, INFJs want to just be their NI self with no questions asked. They don't want to have to do all that FE bullshit. They just want to be. They just want to be loved and love and exist and do whatever the hell they want to do. They want autonomy, but they also want to feel like the relationship that you are merged as one. I mean, me and my girlfriend, we are just so in sync that we feel like doing the same things, like at the same time. We wake up at the same time. We both are craving the same food at the same time. We both feel like watching the same show at the same time. We both feel like canceling and staying in at the same time. We both feel like going out at the same time. We just are, it almost feels like we are just one being. And you can get that with a variety of personality types. I just feel like that is what the INFJ craves, is to be able to just go with the flow. Their NI flow. I'm not saying go with the flow in like a P, like NP or SP way. They want to go and follow where their NI is taking them without having to be bothered, without having to use all this FE crap to try and get their way or to try and move people around. They don't enjoy it as much as I do. I love moving people in a way. But yeah, they desire to go with the flow and have someone there with them that is, not just supporting them, but is that flow, that is there as well. It doesn't, and an INFJ won't want you around if they feel guilty, if they feel like you are there to help them. They're gonna really like it if you're there for your reason and they're there for their reason. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like they don't want to feel like a burden. They don't want to feel like you have to go out of your way to fix them or anything like that. They're very bad at taking help and asking for help. And so if you're dating an INFJ, you might have to ask them, hey, is there any way I can help? Because if you don't ask them, then they might not even know to ask. But yeah, I think they can get very lazy in relationships. And I think that it's important for whoever's dating an INFJ to continue to encourage them to do what they love and to be even more themselves. Because INFJs, most of them think, the meaning of life is to fall in love or to be loved or to have love. And so I think a lot of their ambition can sort of lower down if they're in a lovely relationship, because a lot of what they live for is love. I mean, my girlfriend said She was like, if I didn't have tasks, I would be fucking all the time. I would just be in a love bubble, and that was it. Like, she's like, I hate tasks. And she was like, I hate how tasks interrupt my love bubble. And like, I almost feel like if she had a choice, she really would just be doing that at all times. And I mean, as an ENFJ, I am the same way. I feel more of a fire under my ass to fix the world than an INFJ does. An INFJ is more wanting to fix their own sphere. They would love the opportunity to help the world. And a lot of them do. A lot of them do get that and desire to help the world. And I'm not trying to say that they don't, but like, I don't know. I think I would like to argue that perhaps ENFJs feel more of a fire under their ass to save the world than an INFJ would. But still similar. But they might forget about their personal pursuits, such as music or art or writing or whatever their personal pursuit is in a relationship. So I think that they would do well with their partner encouraging them, because they might just by default not even think to pursue it as much because they're so happy. Because most of their life they feel this sort of hole in their gut, like that life is pointless if they don't have someone to love, because that's what they're there for. It's like, of course I'm here for that. So it feels empty if they aren't in love. And it's they can get so relieved to have that they can forget about other things that they're also here for. So, and last thing I'd like to touch on is INFJs in arguments, is that they can be mean. They can be mean. Because if they know exactly the right way to love you, they know exactly the right way to hurt you. And I am guilty of this as well as an ENFJ. And I think it works well with my INFJ because we kind of can see where the other's coming from and forgive each other in those sorts of areas. That if you are a thinker and you're dating an INFJ, you might not be as forgiving. You might think that they're a little mean. You might think that they're a little naggy or a little just, oh wow, why are you randomly snippy with me? Or why are you taking out your emotions on me? You might get that. And normally that's just a sign that your INFJ is tired and burnt out. Like, INFJs are grumpy when tired. But if you ask them if they're tired, they might not even know that they're tired. But they get grumpy. So tell them to go to sleep. Tell them, stop arguing with me, go to sleep. maybe say something different than that. But that's the idea, is that in conflicts, if they don't feel like they're being heard, or if they feel exhausted in some way, they won't ever just... I'm sure there are some INFJs out there that are absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible people. But I think as a baseline, even if some of them are not as great, INFJs have this idea that they want to be good. Their FE knows the right thing to do. And they don't give in to their FI bad, like, motives or whatever. But, so I would say the way that they would be more likely to hurt you is by a, like, snippy comment, more so than like cheating on you or like betraying your trust or like doing something like wrong. Because an INFJ would, even if they were to do that, which they could, it would completely eat them alive, and they would know, because they are often just drowning in guilt for everything that they've ever done all the time. So they are going to feel this intense pressure to be a good person, to be a good partner, that they might take it out on you by being snappy and by nagging you about the dishes or about something. They might take it out on you in other, like, just stupid ways. So be prepared for that. But also, INFJs only do that if they love you. They're going to want to show their perfect image if they don't love you. Or if they're like worried about what you think about them. So even if they do get snippy, that's normally a sign of trust. Normally a sign that they believe that they can be their full self around you and that they aren't altering themselves with FE. I know for my girlfriend, she says that she only has ever argued like with me and like her parents and like in her relationships, and that she only lets herself act bitchy, which she says she knows she can be a bitch. She doesn't act that way with anyone else, and so it can sort of bubble up just whenever she feels unheard or stressed or something else. And so I don't take it personally, because I know her heart is that she doesn't mean to. It's just she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders, like so much, almost more than I do. If I feel more of the desire to change the world, INFJs, if they feel less of that desire, it's not because they care less, it's because they feel even more weight, and it's even harder for them to pick it up. So, man, like, they can get so exhausted, they can get so sleepy, and they can get so grumpy, but oh my goodness, they just want to love you. And so if they're clingy, like, just communicate that you need space, okay? Like, don't take it out on them. Like, don't think that if your INFJ is being clingy, that they have no sense of self. Because they do. They're just trying to merge their self with you. They aren't going to change for you. They aren't going to become a different person. They aren't going to, but they're also never going to idealize, or they're never going to live up to the idealized picture that you have. And so let them make mistakes. Let them make mistakes. Every INFJ description is like, oh, the most insightful person, the most empathetic person ever. Well, they're also fucking human. And they put so much pressure on themselves to be perfect. Everyone else, that they are bearing their soul to you, and they're going to have some darkness just like everybody else. And don't think that the first time that they say something that isn't all the way nice, don't think that that means that they're not who they say they are, that they're a liar. Because they're just trying to do the right thing. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard to do the right thing all the time. It really is hard. And they're tired, and they could just see that as a sign that they want a hug. Honestly, just give them a hug. Just give them a hug. If you care. I mean, like, don't like brush their issue that they're trying to communicate to you under the rug just by saying, oh, they're there, it's fine. Like, if they're obviously communicating an issue with you, then like talk to them, because that's intentional. Remember, these people, these INFJs, they are intentional. So don't underestimate that. So hopefully this video gave you an inside look at what it's like to date an INFJ, or even gave you some advice if you were dating an INFJ. So thank you so much for watching. Join my Facebook group below, Personality Typology for Self-Growth. Or, you know, if you'd like to work with me one-on-one and maybe discuss, you know, an INFJ in your life, I have life coaching and consulting options below as well. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.